Hey everybody, I'm here with my friend Dani, and I brought her in here because I've taken her class called Come Alive, where it's just like, is it exercise? Is it therapy? Is it all the above? And so we were just chatting about different things, and she had such insight, so I want her to share it with you. But first, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about you.
Yes. As Praise mentioned, my name's Dani, and I am in the wellness space. I am a wellness leader and teach yoga and fitness, and now focus primarily on a class that I created called Come Alive, which is sort of a fusion of all of the things that have helped me heal on my journey, and also all the things that help me feel big and alive in my own space. And you know, it's something that I want to share and offer to others too. So that's what I focus on now. I support with the fitness and well-being program at an amazing women's space called The Assembly in San Francisco, and work with a lot of amazing brands in SF as well. So I'm excited to be here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for being so truthful about your story. You were telling me that you started this class because you had to learn how to take up space for yourselves. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory with that? But then also how we as like modern women can take up space to come alive?
Yes, I can. So I grew up in the ballet world, always leaving school early to go to this professional ballet program I was involved in until I was 18. And those are really formative years of your life, especially as a young woman. And I was a very type A, very much a striving perfectionist. And yeah, I think over those years, I just learned to get by and to excel. And that success came from making myself literally physically and energetically as small as I could be, while still appearing strong and appearing like I had it all together. And I have scoliosis, so when I was growing up, I saw that as one of my biggest flaws, especially in the dance world, that I wasn't ever fully aligned, or something was never fully quite right with me. And I carried that with me for a long time, in the way I showed up in my dance career, and the way I showed up in my relationships, the way I strived for perfection and saw that as like the key to other people seeing me as a successful woman. And it wasn't until several years ago, when I had quit my job in tech and was teaching full time, and I fully blew out a disc in my spine, which, you know, it's, you learn how you learn, and for me it was the hard way, when it forced me to fully stop, and I had to stop teaching as much, I had to stop doing, and it forced me to sit just with myself, and really, it gave me really no option but to sit with who I am and figure out what that means to me, and how to take up space in a way that's not even always doing, but just embodying that space. And yeah, it was probably one of the most challenging experiences of my life, but one of the most shaping as well, and definitely led me to create this Come Alive class, which I'm really passionate about now. So I guess a gift as well.
Oh, that is so good. I feel that. We were talking about wherever there are other humans, somehow we get into our mind that like we are not enough, and actually to get over that is to do the opposite. Instead of like shrinking back, is to go big. But
yes,
sometimes we need a reminder of like how to take up that space. And
yes,
one point I thought that was really insightful as you shared that with me is like sometimes even calendaring, I'm going to take up this space,
yes,
for myself here. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I think for me, in thinking about how I've created this class, and also how I'm now sort of bringing it out into beyond just a class, how do women especially, and men, all people, but I think for me it's most interesting, and a lot of the people that are drawn to my class happen to be women. How do we learn to take up space not only for ourselves in our own realm, but in the world and in our gifts and with others? So I kind of look at taking up space in 3 layers in that way. So for me, the first layer is always how do I take up space and create space for myself? And for me, a lot of that circles around vulnerability. I've always kind of pinned my achievements and my value to what I'm doing and how much I can do and how well I can do it, and do other people see me do it and all of that. And that's exhausting. So what I'm learning now is the value of literally, as you said, calendaring space in my day, and being really intentional with my energy. So creating space, I think for me, it's a really vulnerable experience. Just being in space, creating space to be with myself, and get to know myself better, get to know who I am and what's working for me, and also what I'm ready to let go of, what's not working for me. You need space to do those things and to create, as we were talking about. Like, you can't be creative if your life is crammed with all of the things all the time. So creating space, as vulnerable as it can be for a lot of achievers and go-getters, etc., is probably one of the top most important things to showing up in the world. So I'd say first, creating space for yourself to just be and to be with yourself and really get to know yourself well. That's probably most important as a base layer.
Totally. I know for me that looks like I have to schedule at least weekly, like, time off, but then also, like, I'm gonna go on a hike by myself. I don't have to be productive. I don't have to create everything, but your mind just cannot be on all the time like that. So making the space to just
to be.
to be.
Yeah.
But the magic of it is, if you actually want to go far, you need to take a few steps to do that. But then once you've taken those steps, you can actually put things out into the world.
Yes.
So isn't that
Yes.
the second way to take up space?
Yeah. So as you were saying, I think taking space for yourself is, you have to have a full cup, as we all say, in order to offer to others, an overflowing cup, whatever it is. And I'd say once you can create that space for yourself, then nothing we do is ever for ourselves. Or if you're here on this planet and believe you have a purpose, it's not just for yourself. So having, I always think about that second layer of stepping out into the world with that, from that space that you've created, is it takes a lot of courage. For me, I know when I first started teaching Come Alive, I'd already been teaching fitness and yoga and lots of embodiment practices for several years, but starting to teach Come Alive, in the first, I'd say even 6 months that I started teaching it, I would come home every single day and be like, what am I doing? Because it's a vulnerable experience to put something out there, and it takes a lot of courage. When you believe something so deeply and you have sat with yourself and created the space to know who you are and know why you're here and know what your gifts are, putting that out into the world takes courage. So I had to tell myself a lot, like, okay, I am scared, and that's okay. I'm going to do it anyway, and it's going to evolve. We were talking about how even now, it's still hard for me to think about expanding and doing the next thing, because I'm like, I need to have all of it, perfected. I have to have it all, know exactly what it is and what it looks like. But you're never going to know until you start putting it out there and doing it. So having the courage to just step forward and being okay with the evolution and being okay with the stuff that doesn't work out. And all of that is okay. And it's all a part of the larger success. So of taking up space and showing up.
Totally. Like leaping even before you feel 100% ready.
Yes.
Being brave and courageous enough.
Taking up space before you know. You don't have to know 100% of where it's going to take up space. You gotta show up and see sometimes. So
Totally. But one of the best parts is about when you put that out there, it's not just your thing. You're sharing it with the world, right?
Yes.
And doing it with other people actually makes it more fun. And what I've seen when I do things like this, collaborate with people, that's how I know I'll be able to do in the long run. How has community played a part in this journey of yours?
Yeah, I'd say community is the third biggest factor and kind of the top layer of all of this. It's like you learn how to create space for yourself, which is really important, knowing who you are and getting in touch with your truth and your purpose, and then you can show up authentically with courage as you put that out into the world. And as you put it out into the world, you're going to touch other people's lives in some way, and some people are going to love it, and some people it might trigger something and it might not be for them in that moment, and all of that is perfect. I think when you're putting yourself out there in community, it can be really easy to feel like you're taking up too much space, or you're being too big or too bright or too powerful. I think when I was younger, I used to try and just keep everything in a box and make sure everyone liked what I was putting out there and whatever. And at a certain point, if you really want to show up in the world in a way that's authentic and in a way that's meaningful and in a way that's impactful, you have to be willing to take up space and just shine your light as bright as it shines, and trust that you're not taking up anyone else's space. There's room for everyone. And in fact, when you're shining your light and you are fully stepping into who you are, even when it's messy, you're giving permission for other people to do the same. You're giving that same permission for someone else who needs that message. You're shining a light on that for them. And that's been one of my biggest lessons, and still is today, of it's okay to take up space, and it's okay to do that with other people, and in fact it's maybe one of the most impactful things you can do for others.
Totally, because when you take up space, you're not taking away space from other people. There's enough space for all of us to be fully who we are.
Yeah.
Take up all your space, girl. I will take up all of my space, and the world will be a more beautiful place because of it.
It's like you shine your light so you can see it and allow others to shine theirs, and then we bombard the whole world with our light. And
oh my gosh, it's going to be bright.
It's going to be real bright.
I love it. How can people find you online and even in person?
Yeah. So you can find me online. My website is daniparkeryoga.com, and my Instagram is its_Dani Parker. So I'm there. Definitely reach out to me if you have feedback or questions or want to get in touch. Find me there. And then you can also find me in person. I teach regularly at the Assembly, where my regular Come Alive classes are, as well as yoga. And then I teach at Love Story Yoga as well, both in the Mission. And I'm also all over the city, teaching all the time everywhere with different brands and pop-ups. So yes, you can stay in touch about where I'll be for those types of pop-ups on my website and on my Instagram as well.
Yeah, so you'll see me maybe in class with you too, yelling, taking up space, or doing a downward dog, all the things all together. Thank you for sharing that with all of us.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Excellent. Let me just stop this here. Perfect. Let me just stop here, make sure it was going.